The fire is low, just a bed of glowing coals inside a ring of stones, but its light reaches across the camp like a warning. Smoke drifts upward in thin gray lines that twist in the night air before disappearing into the dark. Around the clearing, tents and rough shelters form a half circle, each lit from within by flickering lamps. The sounds of work never fully stop here, metal clinking on anvils, animals shifting in their pens, voices murmuring in the distance. But now, those voices quiet. People know something is about to happen. Lamech stands at the edge of the fire, his shoulders squared, his hands clenched at his sides. He wears a tunic smeared with dirt from the day's work, but the mark beneath it, an angry bruise spreading across his ribs, is what holds his focus. Every breath reminds him of the blow he took earlier. Every movement brings heat to the wound and bitterness to his tongue. His wives, Ada and Zillah, sit close to the fire. Their eyes track him, careful and wary. Lamech calls out to them in a voice loud enough to silence the last conversations around the camp. Ada, Zillah, hear my voice. Men tending the herds stop what they're doing. Younger workers who had been carrying supplies pause mid-step. Even Tubal-Cain, Lamech's son, halts his hammer above the anvil. Everyone knows Lamech's temper. Everyone knows he killed someone today. They just haven't heard him say it yet. Wives of Lamech, he says, his voice swelling with pride, listen to my speech. Ada and Zillah exchange a quick glance. The flicker of fear on their faces lasts only a second, but it's real. They felt the tension all afternoon as rumors spread through the camp. A young man, barely grown, was struck down by Lamech after provoking him. The details blurred with each retelling. Maybe the boy spoke out of turn. Maybe he shoved Lamech. Maybe he swung a tool and caught him in the ribs. The only thing everyone agrees on is that the boy struck him first, and Lamech reacted with a killing blow. I have killed a man for wounding me, Lamech announces. A young man for bruising me. Whispers stir around the clearing. Some men nod, almost approvingly. Others look down at the ground, not daring to meet anyone's eyes. The spot where the boy fell still holds a faint stain in the dirt. By evening, younger workers had carried the body out beyond the edge of camp, but they could not carry away the sight of it. Lamech steps closer to the fire as if warming his words in the glow. His shadow stretches behind him, long and thin. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, he says, then Lamech, 70 and sevenfold. The words slam into the silence. Some of the men shift uncomfortably. The boast twists the old story into something new, something darker. Most of the camp knows the tale of Cain. They have heard it since childhood, when the elders spoke of how the world began with brothers until jealousy, pride, and rage brought the first death. Cain and Abel had offered sacrifices. Abel's was accepted. Cain's was not. In the field, where no one was watching, Cain struck down his brother. When God confronted him, Cain feared revenge from anyone who found him. Instead of letting violence multiply, God marked him so that no one would kill him. Vengeance, God said, shall be taken on anyone who harms Cain sevenfold. It was a limit meant to stop the cycle, not encourage it. But Lamech has taken that warning and twisted it into a threat. If anyone crosses him, he claims, retaliation will not be sevenfold. It will be 77-fold. The message is clear. He considers himself untouchable. But this moment didn't appear from nowhere. It grew out of the generations between Cain and Lamech. Cain wandered east into the land of Nod after killing his brother. There he built a city and named it for his son Enoch. His descendants worked the land, raised families, and shaped tools. One generation after another turned a wandering killer's line into a settled people. Enoch fathered Irad. Irad fathered Mehujael. Mehujael fathered Methushael, and Methushael fathered Lamech. By the time Lamech grew into adulthood, the camp was a small city, tents clustered together, herds stretching across the plains, fires burning at night as people worked bronze and iron into tools. His sons built their reputations early, Jabal with livestock and tents, Jubal with music that filled the camp at dusk, Tubal-Cain with metal that rang like thunder when shaped on stone. The family held power, and Lamech felt that power belonged to him as much as to his sons. So when the young man hurt him earlier that day, whether by accident or defiance, it didn't matter. In Lamech's mind, a blow against him was an offense against the entire line, against the legacy stretching back to Cain. Witnesses saw his face redden. They saw the shock in the young man's eyes, the half-step backward before Lamech reached for the blade at his side. Then came the strike. Quick, hard, final. Nothing after that seemed to slow him. He stood there breathing hard while the boy lay still on the ground, life gone before anyone could intervene. Now, as he stands by the fire claiming vengeance as his right, the camp understands the danger. Cain's fear had once softened judgment. He knew he had crossed a line when he killed his brother, but Lamech does not fear anything. His pride grows where guilt should be. He doesn't hide the killing. He boasts about it. He teaches with it. Ada's hands tremble in her lap. She remembers the older storytellers describing Cain's terror after the first murder, how he feared he would be hunted, how he begged that his punishment was more than he could bear. She wonders how someone could hear that story and believe it gave license to kill more freely, not less. Zilla's gaze fixes on her husband, and for a moment she sees not a protector nor a leader, but a man who believes a bruise justifies a death. He stands there, chest swelling, voice echoing in the night as he repeats the threat, 70 and sevenfold. Around the edges of the camp, boys old enough to understand but young enough to be shaped listen closely. They watch the way Lamech carries himself, the way the men avoid challenging him. They see power rewarded with silence. They see violence elevated into something to brag about, something that earns attention, even admiration. Tubal-Cain lowers his hammer, staring into the fire. The tools he shapes can plow fields, cut wood, carve stone, but they can also break bones and end lives. He wonders what his father expects from the next generation: more music, more work, or more blood. Lamech's declaration settles over the crowd like smoke. Some drift back to their tasks slowly, unsure of what to say. Others linger near the fire, trying to make sense of the moment. The dead boy's family was small, distant relatives who kept mostly to themselves. They haven't come forward. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they're grieving somewhere in the dark. Maybe they know there is no justice for them. Not here. The fire cracks as a piece of wood collapses in the embers. Lamech turns and walks away, satisfied that he has made his point. His wives watch him disappear into the shadows of the camp, each carrying her own silent fear. The bruise on his ribs will fade. The boy he killed will be remembered for a little while, then forgotten by most. But the message Lamech shouted tonight will stay, passed down in whispers, retold long after the embers of this fire have cooled. In a world still learning how to live together, Lamech has shown how quickly anger can grow into something larger, how easily one man's pride can tilt an entire camp toward fear. Cain killed out of jealousy, and then feared retaliation. Lamech kills out of wounded pride and boasts about the power of revenge. One killing was followed by a plea for protection, the other by a threat of multiplied violence. The line between justice and vengeance, once thin, is nearly gone. Thank you for listening to Divine Crime. Subscribe for more true stories from the most dangerous book ever written.